Now, there's one thing about the arduous task of test driving cars. It tends to be mundane. Week after week, vehicles not truly standing out nor differentiating themselves from the rest. And sometimes that old love at first sight rarely happens. That was at least until this week's test drive. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I am your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2021 Kia Sorento Hybrid. And while the hybrid portion really didn't get me excited, what lied beneath this vehicle truly did. What really got my attention first was me remembering that I test drove this vehicle nearly 15 years ago, and the contrast from then to now is kind of a wow factor. Basically growing up and adding one of the biggest features I prefer, putting a third row option here at the back end. And also one of my biggest complaints in the mid-size crossover SUV segment. Basically, when you deliver a platform like this, why not do like the Sorento and give that third row option? That versus some of the competition in this field that just aren't doing that. Look over at Jeep Grand Cherokee. I've argued about it for years, basically having a similar platform like this, but refusing to give that third row option, which again is an option. Lay it down when you don't need it, deliver 5-passenger comfort, but in a pinch when you need to get the whole family or people on the go, put the third row up, which gives you tons of option. Here the Sorento truly delivering. What I also like is this stylizing. Crossovers really don't get me excited, so this vehicle lending more to a nice, robust exterior, similar to my SUV excitement that I prefer. Obviously tight body lines, decent elevation off the ground, lower third with that rubber cladding, obviously going to handle off-road prowess, and nice grille warfare. Also, nice curves where you need them, and just a hint of chiseling up. Something we're seeing across the industry is too much chiseling, too much statuesqueness, which means, well, carving into stone. This one, keeping it nice and tight, a little bit of curvaceousness here and there to be expected, a typical midline across the middle, and just a hint of flare out maybe at the back end. From the profile, you can see this vehicle really comes in quite nice, has a huge footprint on the open road, and fits squarely in the mid-size segment. Overall, just shy of 190 inches, wheelbase 110.8. Good numbers that, again, allows this vehicle to deliver that third row of comfort when needed. As for width, pushing about 74 inches, height just over 66 inches. Now, this vehicle, again, is a crossover-esque like model, which basically is noted in its ground clearance. SUVs typically getting about 2 or 3 more inches than what you see here. As for the grip at the 4 corners, what you're going to see specifically in the hybrid model is the front wheel drive as you see it, but nice, decent, beefy tires, specifically 235/65s wrapping a 17-inch wheel. As you sweep to the back, you may notice a slightly wider track by about 0.4 inches there at the back end. Some other design cues, you're going to see this design element really sweeping up here at the back end, almost identical in shape, giving a little bit of breakup in this glass, really mimicking kind of the airflow. I'd argue possibly that we could get rid of this, maybe darken it just a hair, really mimic what we see going on through here. Stands out just a little bit more than my liking. Not a complaint, just a design cue to point out. As you look here at the back, nice body color sweeping all the way around. Typical roofline extension with this rear overhang like you see here, which again is helpful because what's being hidden, the operation for the rear windshield wiper, which is going to be tucked up here, swing down when needed, again making everything look nice and sleek. What also making it nice and sleek is this vertical appointment to the rear taillights. Again, nice stylizing, and I like the overall design cues that it brings to the table. Looking around, body color, of course, here at the back end, a little bit of different accent down low. Safety back here, of course, backup sensors, backup camera, huge bank of glass, really allowing you to give a good 360 view almost with all the glass sweep around this vehicle. Now, before we dive into the business end of things, let's talk about smart key systems. The Sorento obviously delivering nice, sleek key design. Barely even notice it's in your pocket. As for quick access, you do have a button at the front doors. Press it once, unlocks everything with these. Press it again, locks it all up. My big complaint, of course, is if you can put those buttons at the front doors, why not do it here at the back? Because again, it's just a one-step process for quick and ease of ingress. But really not a big deal because again, this makes it so quick one way or the other. As for cargo, this vehicle truly delivers even with 3 rows in place. But, well, how do you gain access? This specific model, the EX, comes with the automatic hatch like we see here. Once you stand back here for a few seconds, it's going to know you're here. It's going to kind of give you that audible alert and rise to the occasion. Of course, you do have the release there on the key fob and down low on the rear hatch. What you're going to notice once it's open is around about 12.6 cubic feet as you see it, kind of a modest sized sedan. But again, the options here on the Sorento are endless when it comes to people and cargo configuration. Now, once you lay this third row down, you're going to more than triple, around about 38 cubic feet. With all the seating laid flat, it's going to be about 75 cubic feet. Tons of options, again, with this 50-50 split. Lay it down, do what you need. But again, the vast options is the key here on the Sorento. With the overall lift of this rear hatch, no head banging affair to speak of, even with my 6'2" frame. Really nice arching of the rear hatch, makes it feel somewhat cathedral-like back here, and of course gets you out of the elements should you be working in the rain, trying to put things here in the back. Now, what you're going to notice here under the rear cargo floor, no storage to speak of, but you will find nice placement for the vehicle's jack. What you also find nice placement is what's stowed underneath here, specifically a nice spare tire. Traditional crank down lowers when you need it. As for the operation for the rear hatch, just simply press that button right there or grab the handle and it pulls out of the way. When it comes to grille warfare, you could really say it's all about the glossing things up. The body color obviously coupling nicely with this glossed up black grille, really broad and sweeping all the way across the front end, split by this body color right through here, but even airflow tucking through there and down low. This really setting kind of the aggressive look up front, but there is no blunt force trauma with everything squared off. Instead, there's a nice subtle approach to this curvaceousness that sweeps and really softens the kind of squared off lines traditionally what we'd see. Another thing I like is how they stack these headlights all the way across. Mimics the design there at the back end with 4 separate LEDs, 2 for of course standard lights, and then 4 when you hit the brights. Obviously sweeping down, this is where you're starting to get a little bit more aggressive. Tucked in edges at the side, operational venting here as well, tucking out in front of the wheel wells right up here, and again a little bit of flare out with that lower fascia, really setting off the tones here at the front end. Lastly is safety, really all the way around this vehicle, and even more so up here with parking sensors that really allow this vehicle to dive in with radar-like precision. Now, what lies beneath the hood is a 1.6 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged hybrid engine. That means you're going to have some nice electrical and gas components. Now, for the gas side, Kia touts the 177.2 horses just from it and 195.4 foot-pounds of torque. But when you couple it with the hybrid boost, well, that's going to give you a little bit extra with 60 horses coming from the electric component as well. All combined, you're seeing 227 horses and 258 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if you really need to know 0 to 60 numbers, what you're going to find is around about 8.6 seconds on a vehicle as you see it. Obviously, giving you great bang for your buck with the dual combo hybrid and gas technology. Now, the big story for me on the Sorento, again, is that this vehicle has that third row, but if it doesn't have comfort or ease of access, well, it can just be cumbersome and not worth its while. So certainly you want to test that out. Now, before we get there, let's talk about legroom numbers. What you're going to find up front is over 41 inches. Here in the second row, around about 40, and in the back, just shy of 30 inches. Naturally a knee bleeding affair, but what you're going to find here in the second row is a little bit of give. Most occupants not typically needing this much legroom. So in a pinch, when you have maybe even fuller size, grown size adults that need to go back there, this second row can accommodate, basically pulling the lever here and sliding forward, because for every inch, well, there's a little bit obviously more comfort. The second row easily being able to give 2, 3, 4 inches of space, making that number back there much more tolerable. But the other big story is ingress. Now, naturally, captain chairs in the second row, you can go through the middle, or you do have this button on either outer chair. Just simply press it and it automatically tumbles and slides forward. With that means we can simply just find our way inside. Now, once you get back here, what you're gonna see is decent overall legroom and comfort. Now, one thing to note, the rear bench is about as planted down to the floor as it can be. That's one reason why the legroom numbers are so low, basically placing your knees up a little higher. Now, once you do that, you will pull this seat back, and what you're gonna find is plenty of overall comfort. This seat, modestly in a position, probably could come back some more, but really, backseat passengers are gonna find decent comfort. Now, what you're also gonna find back here is some USB charging, cup holders, and just overall good feel. The second row is going to be in the form of captain's chairs, very lazy boy feel, really nice and wide and comfortable. Obviously individualized armrests for both that can lock into place where the occupant wants them or tuck out of the way when they're not needed. Now, if you do need to transform it, either the third row or second row into cargo, made fairly simple. You're not going to use the button up here, but instead the lever down low going to tumble it forward. And again, with the overall amount of space in the second row, no reason to take the headrest out, just have it in its furthest back position and it will lay flat. Now, when the seating is laid flat, you can certainly pull this handle to unlock it. But one thing I do like, because your hand's going to naturally go right here anyway, is that button that is meant to pull the seats forward can also unlock it as well. So when you press it, it releases the back, allowing you to lift it back into place. Makes for a more natural feel versus doing this, which is more of a two-hand approach, right hand here, left hand on the shoulder. So that other process much quicker. Laying the third row flat, pretty simple. You do have this headrest, but it's all in kind of a one-step process. Just simply going to tug on this here, going to lay the headrest down, then you can simply tumble it forward. What you're also going to notice, if you're putting cargo here in the back and you need those second rows laid flat as well, well, you have the buttons over here, left side and right side. Just simply press the button and it tumbles forward. Once all the seating is tumbled forward, you're going to see basically a nice, seamless, flat cargo area. And again, over 75 cubic feet of space and decent overall height. Really handling your biggest items, maybe that big screen for the Super Bowl. Typically, I look at the infotainment system first, but with this being a hybrid, obviously the gauge cluster with the hybrid information at a glance is, well, vastly more important. Now, what you're going to see on this vehicle is on average about 37 miles per gallon and pretty decent range per fill up on the tank. Now, obviously you see the ability there on the gauge on the left side to tell you what's going on. On the right side, traditional analog speedometer, but really a digital readout in the middle for digital speed is a great reference point. Love at first sight really came at the glance of the dash, both with the gauge cluster combined with the infotainment system, all adorned in this nice glossy accent, giving a really sleek look to the inside. Now, when it comes to infotainment system, real ease of operation. First off, with this split screen operation, shortcuts down on the side, and obviously press on one area and it goes full screen. Now, what I did like when you go back to the home screen is you have this option down here called Apple CarPlay. Now, traditionally Apple CarPlay done with the USB interface, but this one has the screen cast kind of option, which basically means I am wirelessly connected and it is projecting here to the infotainment system versus a cord traditionally connected in, this making life so much easier with the wireless component. Continuing on with the overall sleek look is sweeping down to the climate controls, angled just a hair for better visibility by the driver, touch sensitive buttons with the fan speed, toggle switches for the temperature control, and mode select going to be found in here as well. Now, keeping everything sleek going down is going to be this hidden compartment right here. Just simply press that. It's going to tuck out of the way. Going to find connectivity with USB charging systems right through there, as well as a wireless charging pad over here on the right. You'll find dual cup holders up front between the front occupants, nice springy material to keep the drinks in place. For the transmission, well, that's going to be in the form of this simple selector knob between drive, neutral, and reverse, and of course return it to park with the simple press of a button. Now, if you want to sport things up, you do have some driving modes, everything from sport, smart, and econo. If you do want to go a little bit more sporty, just simply select it, and you do have nice paddle shifters if you choose to do that. Safety can be found in the form of the blind spot awareness over there on the mirrors, as well as the operation when it comes to cruise control. First off, with the spatial awareness, when you're in traffic, simply set the spacing between you and other drivers, as well as lane assist. Now, it's going to help with the old driver fatigue by allowing this vehicle to sense the lane and give you just a little bit of assist should you start to veer to one side or the next. Now, you do have lane awareness as well button over here. That's going to be more of a kind of an alert that as you switch and you don't use your blinker, the vehicle is going to think you're coming out of your lane, so it's going to give you audible alert. That's kind of a different system that doesn't really interact until you use the cruise control, which again, turn this on, gives you that little assist. That's very helpful. Up above, you will find this button to retract the screen up above, revealing a huge panoramic roof, really opening up the top to the sky and, well, lightening things up on the inside when you need. Now, the first half of the roof can give you an open air feel, pulling all the way back and, well, letting the wind flow through. Overall pricing for the vehicle as tested was just over $38,000, with the only option being this exterior red, basically coming in at just under 450 bucks. Everything else standard. Now, again, this vehicle was love at first sight, both on the outside and what awaited us on the inside. Not just the technology and the overall comfort, but again, that third row that came as a surprise because, again, the competition just not delivering, but the Kia Sorento doing it quite well. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.